Hey guys, what's up? So today we have Sanchi along with us. She has been working with VCs, have a great academic background. She had been from Srcc, she had been from topper in her college. So we explored her days. How did she get into Srcc? What are the key takeaways from her? How did she get into venture capital industry? What are the founders that should be taken on? There's a lot to learn from this conversation. So without any wasting ado, let's jump on to this conversation. Simple flow. So currently where you are in, like in India or in New York or where?
So currently, I would say I'm a digital nomad. I'm fitting the definition of a digital nomad and covering different geographies, spending some time in India as well. I think working for a global fund, or I would say working for two global funds in a consulting position gives you that flexibility that you can be working remotely. Of course, given the current situation of private markets, as we call the venture investing markets as well. I think apart from deal flow activity or deal making activity at the pre-seed seed stage, things are a little, slow. So that's where I think I qualify as in the definition of a digital nomad. So I keep traveling between different countries, and currently I'm in India while we are recording this podcast. So yeah.
I see, I see. So I've also seen you have been a classic topper from the beginning, right? Whether it's school, whether it's college, whether it's making to the best college, or whether making being the best person in that best college in terms of academics and other stuff, right? So tell us a bit कि topper का कैसे था? It's usually, you had that feel कि ये तो हो जाता है, you get the marks out of that, or you had something that you were chasing in that stuff.
Definitely the joy of achieving something that you set your mind to is always very fulfilling. And whether it's taking part in a competition and giving your 200% in it and then winning it, I think when you are a child, you are chasing the feeling of winning or achieving something. But then as you grow older, you also start enjoying the process. I think in Indian context, we forget a lot about the process of preparing for an exam or preparing for a competition or preparing for a sports meet, etc. And we are so focused on the outcome. It only in hindsight you realize that the process was as equally important. Think Srcc was not my dream college. So my dream college was St. Stephen's. And like the whole DU cutoff scene, I had missed it by 2 marks. And I was quite dismayed that I couldn't make it to my dream college. So I chose Srcc because my parents wanted me to go there. But it wasn't a personal decision per se. I think then when you reach an esteemed college like Srcc, and it's like still one of the top commerce and finance colleges in our country, you are exposed to so many peers who come from different parts of the country who have had similar or very different upbringing and bring their own cultural context and bring their own dreams and aspirations. You are exposed to a wide variety of professors and such a powerful alumni base who have gone ahead and done many big things, such as top industrialists, actors, as well as professional deal makers and investment bankers, etc. I think that sort of gives you a platform that I can be anyone I want to be, and this is the foundation of where it starts. And I believe that my peer group in Srcc had a very big impact on me. I don't know if they know that, but I was an ambitious person. But I think after going to Srcc, I became like 5x more ambitious in terms of what I wanted to do with my life. And yeah, I think that's how it went. It also made me, I mean, like I was humbled by, of course, the class 12th process. I think it is in no way to evaluate a person's capabilities, but we went through that education system, so we had to go through the boards process, etc. I think it humbles you from a point that you are just one of the people in a sea of many talented and dynamic people who are as hungry and to you as you to achieve different things. And you realize that you are a speck in the whole valley of universe. So it's really about your journey, and it's really about how much you are progressing from the version that you were 3 months ago or 6 months ago, etc. So it also puts that perspective, which is very, very important.
I see. Because mine was like till 8th, I was like the वो bunk कर रहे हैं kind of stuff happening around, right? And post 8th, I used to be very bad at a subject. I still remember SST, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Ratification
yeah,
proper.
yeah.
And one of my friend told me that, dude, write and learn those things. And then the thing shifted for me. But yeah, absolutely agree with you in that. Regarding
I
the
think
college, yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
just add a slight digress. I think, the whole rote memorization pedagogy that our Indian education system has, I think it definitely needs to go. I think it does need to become very critical pedagogy for sure. I think it's a high time. And I think you shouldn't judge yourself by those parameters. I think I often discuss this with my peers and even my parents that, whatever we learned, like, I spent, I think, close to, I don't know how many minutes solving sums of differentiation and calculus, etc. And I'm no longer using that in any form of my life. And I think the whole education system definitely needs to go through an overhaul. Or, if you can't, rely on the education system, then you yourself have to incorporate those things and additions in your own routine so that you are not lagging behind in today's world, is what I feel.
Absolutely. I would also add that in right now what is happening is that has been implemented by schools. Now
Yeah,
there is
yeah,
two math, that is, I do not know you are aware, like basic math and if you want to take maths in 11, then there is different maths. So my
yeah.
sister is in like 12, so now they had that kind of a stuff. That
I'm,
seems
I'm
good.
glad to see that. It's
Yeah,
it's very important. Yeah.
yeah. And since you were in college, right? So you went into advisory in EY and all of that part. So frankly, I was in college and most of the people didn't knew about advisory stuff. They were just knowing about audit, they were just knowing about accounting and all of these stuff. So I think awareness is also. So were you aiming for advisory part, or do you came across it? How do you get first of all aware, and then how do you get into that?
I think, as I said, right, like your peer group has a very tangible impact on your journey. Apart from peer group, I think mentors as well play a huge role. I think one of the things that I got access to late in college was mentors. I think I got to it much later, once I had transcended through my college journey. But to answer your question, I think, I did what any small town person would have done, that they reached out to other, person from their town who had also cracked Srcc, and asked them that, hey, I have landed in the college now. What should I do? Like, how should I build my career? What should I do? What should I not miss on? And their first piece of advice was that you have to have at least 2 or 3 internships in college, because that will help you stand out when you compete with other of your peers in the placement season, etc. And it'll also help you build the right kind of skills that would you know expose you to the right basically set great foundations for a professional career. Because whatever said and done, I think what our delivery or education delivery in college was still a professor teaching from the book, or at most teaching from presentation, and these are very theoretical topics, right, like corporate law or tax, etc. So she said, like, whatever you have to learn, you will learn at the job, but how to do your job well, you need to learn certain foundational skills. That could be analysis, that could be Excel, that could be PowerPoint, that could be just understanding globally macro India mein kya ho raha hai. So that's what I did. I think the role at I was working with the audit teams itself. It was very interesting because as part of the audit team that was leading the merger between Kane and Vedanta. At that time, there was a merger that was happening, and as a young person, I got, I would say, little exposure to what was happening and how complex these structures and conglomerates are, etc. So my impact to that internship would have been very minimal, but I would say what I just imbibed was, okay, what life looks like in an auditing and advisory role at a big four. What are the hygiene factors with regards to writing emails, getting your deliverables done on time, getting a little hang of Excel, etc. So that's how it happened. If I answered your question, if I missed any part of your question, then you can repeat.
You did. And also, since my audience that usually watches the podcast is anywhere from 18 to 35, right? So from the audience from the 18 to 25 range, most of them had a dream college SRCC, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what are your takeaways if you say about three key takeaways from SRCC that you took away, right?
I think three key takeaways was, I mean, I don't think I had takeaways from a college per se, but like more from the experience
Yeah,
I
including
had
that.
there. One was, of course, you can be anyone you want to be, you wish to be. The world is your oyster. Do not dream small, dream big as possible. That was one key takeaway. I think second was it's very important to have mentors right at the college level, because until school we are under the cocoon of our parents and our school teachers and tuition teachers guiding us in terms of, hey, this is how you have to crack the boards and this is what you have to do, etc. But once you step out of that cocoon, you're sort of exposed to the world, and so that you don't get lost because you worked so hard to get there, it's very important to have mentors even at the college level. These could be your college seniors and professors, etc., because professors have years and years of experience. I think I would highly encourage people to do that. This is a very widely accepted culture in the US that you become best friends with your professors even at undergrad level, and then they write your recommendations, etc. But not so much in India. I think we are seeing that of course with newer colleges like Ashoka University and other liberal arts college, and that there's a very strong connection and relation between students and professors. I think at SRCC, because the batch size was such big, it was very hard for students to build like that deep a connect with professors. But one should try and cultivate that either with professors or their own immediate seniors. I think the third takeaway was make the most of the process and the place, etc. And by that I mean that of course sit for the top placements, whatever companies are coming to college, have an understanding of what's happening prior, right? So that you don't miss the boat in terms of preparation or signing up for the right opportunity, etc. So be informed, of course. Even if you are not academically that inclined, you have to be informed that this opportunity is coming to college, etc., and you should give it your best shot. Yeah, I think those would be the top three takeaways. If there's something else that comes to my mind, I'll let you know.
Hmm. And also later in your journey, you also co-founded one startup, right?
No, I think that wasn't a startup. It was more of a non-profit initiative. So a non-profit entity does not qualify as a startup,
Yeah.
because it's just an initiative of, it's a voluntary organization, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that was something that, resonated with me deeply. This was a gender sensitization or awareness campaign by the name of We Rise. I started it with another friend. I think the objective was just to drive more awareness around gender sensitization. That's something that we faced. I faced as a person growing up in Haryana with um, a state with the most skewed sex
Yeah.
ratio.
Yeah.
The objective was very clear. I think that we want to do something to create awareness around this topic in both organized communities, and when I say organized, it means that at workplaces where these conversations might not be happening, and by that giving an example of unconscious biases, right? Like you expect that a nurse would be a female and a doctor would be a male, or the CEO would be a male. So those unconscious biases that one might have even at the workplace, women getting passed for promotion because they think they're going to expect a child in the next 2-3 years.
Hmm.
So having those conversations just for people to think about these topics or start thinking about these topics and then formulating that in their policies was something that we thought
Hmm.
is important. So that was in the organized space. And in the unorganized space, we wanted to have these conversations with schools, such as where Teach for India delivers its programs, or government schools, etc., where no one is thinking about it, right? And
Hmm.
we wanted to be a voice there for girls to realize that if you start with your menstruation, you shouldn't drop out of school. There's a way to increase your awareness around menstrual health and hygiene, and getting okay with the use of sanitary pads so that you can come back to school. And also the ability of, hey, you are a girl, that shouldn't limit your career decisions. You can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
So I think instead of going on the organized side, where some of these initiatives were taking place from the companies themselves, we focused on the unorganized side. So we conducted a lot of workshops in some of these Teach for India schools, as well as other government schools, just to create that awareness. And we did that at a consistent level, so that even if we are, let's say, impacting only 400 or 500 kids, we are doing that in a consistent manner, so that that lesson gets ingrained inside of them. So yeah, that's what we did. I think we ran into sort of succession issues in terms of, we ran it and then we realized, can we scale it? And we realized that we couldn't scale it in a scalable fashion. And we tried to look for volunteers and successors who could lead the program or could lead the organization without us. But we couldn't find the right talent. And that's why we decided that, it's best to shelve it. And yeah, so that's what happened.
Yeah, I see that. That's a really good initiative because I also come from Haryana, right? So, so what happens? It's been a while since I have went out to my village out there, but earlier there was, yeah, as you rightly put up, the male domination is a lot more. I don't know how the things are shaping up right now, but yeah, they must be going good in that aspect right now.
I mean, we can hope. So yeah.
Yeah, I see. I see. So, why I put up that question was because I wanted to understand that when you graduated from your college, right? Did you had that mindset whether you will be starting something or you will be going for a job? How do you decided that? How you end up in one? What was the structure of that one?
I think to each their own, Himanshu. I think everyone has their own career goals as
Hmm.
per which they decide,
Hmm.
or just personal goals as per which they
Yeah.
decide
Yeah.
their career. And for some people, career is a big part of life, and
Yeah.
so for some people, it's a means to an end. They see
Yeah.
that as a way of earning money, and they want to do other things in life, etc. I think for me, and this is coming from personal ground, once I was exposed to the peer group and the college environment at Srcc, most of my peers were already doing, chartered accountancy. So
Hmm.
they were going to become CAs, or had already enrolled in, CAT training because they wanted to do an MBA right after college. Not giving so much thought on what their actual interests are, which industry do they actually want to build their career, etc. So that was what I was observing. I realized that it was not for me. I definitely wanted to experiment and take a first dive into one space to see if it's for me, and work before, because I felt that, you know I am coming from one cutthroat competitive environment, and going to another
Yeah.
without really factoring in what I want to do after that.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a rat race where you're not thinking very logically and rationally. And
Yeah.
and I have deepest respect for my peers who have gone to, great business schools, and they had that clarity, right? So
Yeah.
what I was looking for was clarity. I was in my early 20s. I fortunately didn't have um you know financial liabilities on my head, or I had to contribute to my family right then. So I had, I would say, 3 or 4 years on my hand to really figure out what I wanted to do and what I wanted to build my career in. So I think the second
Hmm.
objective was the bigger objective. Obviously, I wanted to work and, become successful in whatever I do, but which industry would that be was how I was thinking about it. And I spent, I think, an internship in a philanthropic foundation called Central
Hmm.
Square Foundation. Really bright people, very well committed to the cause of education, coming from great backgrounds themselves, had an bias for action, etc. And I was exposed to this world of social consulting, essentially, where you are uh, doing similar to consulting, but you are applying a social lens to it, that you are creating some impact on the ground. I think it really resonated with me as an individual. So that's how my first job came about. And interestingly, I think I didn't opt for the placement that I got from my college, because SRCC is famous for placements, but I decided to carve my own path. And it really stemmed from the fact that I wanted to take a meaningful step towards my career rather than just meandering into any direction that would be a function of, hey, what placement did you get? Or what placement materialized for you the day you sat for it, right? Like, because you are out of the process the day you crack a placement. So you have to make those choices as well. A lot of my peers' first choices were determined by the fact कि कौन सी company की job लग गई. And I didn't want that for myself, which is why I sort of carved this unique path. So I think to each their own. I now see that with the Gen Zs, they're very clear on what they want to do, right? Like, do they want to become a creator? Do they want to go into finance? Do they want to go into VC? So if you have that clarity beforehand, and with folks, if you want to get into business school right on, I think that's bang on. But I didn't have that clarity. Yeah.
Same, I guess, because when the placement form circulated in our group, right, I didn't fill that up. So I was like, let's explore different things, because I was doing previously startups. I was just going into the few things. So सब चल रहा था, and my friends were like, झूठ बोल रहा है, भरा है, and kind of that going on around. So yeah, 100% that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and when you talk about the rat rate stuff also, that's I think most of the students are stuck over there. Even the professionals, kind of, they do not know. When you said CA, I was like, I am a CA dropout, right? So I was like, yeah, I got that rat race because I dropped that because it took a lot more time, and that पता ही नहीं उसके बाद भी क्या होगा, that kind of stuff. That's 100% true. That's
I
a very
think just to build on what we discussed right now, I think one should not be afraid of rat race and quit it just because it's a rat race. And I'm saying this because your listeners are young people, so I don't want them to take the wrong inference out of my message. I think our life is a rat race from the minute we are born. And especially in India, our population compels us that we are always in a rat race, right? I mean, you have seen the movie Hindi Medium, where people are competing to get their nursery admission in a good school. So forget, rat race at the college level or the professional level. I think you have to pick your rat races very carefully. And I'm saying that because there comes a time when you are running into so many races without having a very good understanding of what I'm doing and why I'm doing this. So your effort gets channelized into many different directions, which leads to suboptimal outcomes in all directions. And then you get disillusioned and you also get burnt out very quickly, right? We see that with a lot of, my peers, etc. Very intelligent, talented people, went to the top schools, etc. You talk to them when they're 27, 28, they feel already burnt out. They never got to enjoy life. They never got to explore their interest outside of what they were doing. And the only satisfaction that is, in life is that I'm making this much money and I'm working at this company. There are people who are very happy in that as well, which is great. But the key message here is, pick your rat races very carefully and give 200% there. And, try and get to the best outcome there. But, don't run into many races, and don't run into many races based on, peer pressure or what your parents
fear
are
of missing out.
etc. You have to make a very logical, rational choice of, let's say, I never went for the IIT JEE training. When I was choosing my field, I didn't say that I wouldn't say I disliked physics. It took me a lot of time to understand physics. So 2x time to get to 1x outcome, and I was like, मुझे तो मतलब हर चीज में ज्यादा time लगाना पड़ेगा to just get to the basic thing. And I realized कि यहाँ पे एक ability mismatch है. और ability mismatch है तो मुझे लगा कि चाहे मैं 400 effort भी डालूंगी ना तो मेरा outcome 1x या 2x
सेम ही रहेगा.
And तो शायद ही मुझे नहीं करना चाहिए. But and I took that conscious call, right? My parents had told me that, why don't you enroll for non-medical and pursue the IIT JEE program? And I was like, I'm not sure if I'll be able to crack it. So you have to have that acute understanding of your own abilities as well. क्योंकि एक hard work का factor है, you can push yourself, but there's a limit to that, you know. Ability comes as a foundation, motivation uske baad and hard work fir uske baad.
Exactly. Focus on your strength rather than weakness, as you were saying in physics.
And pick your battles very carefully.
Yeah.
Is another message.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now let's flip up the coin, right? We have talked about ki early में कैसा रहा सब कुछ. Now how the things currently going on? So
I think from a professional side or from the world of investing side, which do you want to focus
both.
on?
Let's talk about, you know.
So I think you know, I stumbled into venture investing not by choice, but through a process of careful experimentation and again understanding my core ability and skill set and strengths. I believe now the venture space has become very crowded, and sometimes you would also feel that, you know, your core skill set might get obsolete thanks to technologies like ChatGPT or AutoGPT, etc. I think what happened, and I'm now speaking about the, you know, the global tech investing ecosystem, etc. What happened was, you know, because the interest rates globally were so low, there was a big you know, funding, I would say, party that was happening since 21, and that continued till mid of 22, and suddenly it stopped. And as a result, you know, valuations reached the level that they shouldn't have reached. And now, you know, there was a reset that was happening, right? Like it's exactly like a hangover, right? Like you drink a lot of alcohol, and then now there's a hangover that's happening, and you're getting the excess liquid out from your body, right? So I think we are in that phase where that reset is happening, where valuations are coming down to where it should have been. And it's becoming difficult to raise capital, not just for founders, but also for fund managers, especially emerging fund managers who are like new to the business, etc. Because, you know, I'm assuming the, you know, listeners understand the three stakeholders of the venture investing ecosystem. You have the founders who are you know, building companies. Then you have the venture capitalist and private equity folks who are investing in these companies. And then you have the limited partners, basically, you know, organizations or HNIs or family offices from which these fund managers raise money to actually invest in these companies and founders. I think the limited partners are now seeing that the kind of returns that they were promised based on the valuations that were there in 21 and 22, they have all come down. There has been a big reset in public markets as well. Of course, you know, there's a trickle-down effect that always happens when there is a slash of value in public markets to private markets. And now they're like, you know, we do not want to put our capital anywhere. We'll just put it in a place where it is liquid and it can give us, you know, decent returns, etc. Because when you invest in a venture capital or PE fund, you're at least not looking at that capital for another 8 to 9 years, etc. You know, and it becomes difficult for emerging fund managers to raise, because even if they will allocate to that class, they'll always back folks who are established, who have that great track record. So I would say in a nutshell, bigger funds or the top performing funds will become bigger, will still be able to attract capital from limited partners, and good founders with good valuation and good companies will also be able to raise capital. So all the, I wouldn't say, you know, not so good companies as well as new fund managers will have a problem raising. So there's 100%. I would say clearance in the system that will happen.
Yeah, the returns that were mentioned, you know, as you put up, that was not promisely delivered. All of that thing happened. Even I actually reached out to various VC funds in US just to have essence the market and all of that. And I came across that most of the fund managers give you know, commitment of around 3x, 3.5x to anywhere 10x. And they're giving out return of 1.5x to 2.5x. So that was happening a lot.
Yeah, and I think, there's always a difference between valuation as on date versus when the exit event happens. So there'll be a slight deviation, obviously. But I think the deviation now is, of course, a play of whatever's happening at the macro stage, right? The slash of valuations in public markets. We have a war internationally going on that's disrupting global supply chains. There's inflation. Cost of fundraising has become much expensive because now interest rates are increasing, etc. So a lot of macro factors were at play, and a lot of macro factors were at play even in 21 when the fundraising party was going on. So it's a large confluence of things, but all of these confluence have been on the negative side. So we haven't had a positive macro factor that will push us out of this situation. We're expecting that situation will correct by end of this year or Q3 of this year, or will start normalizing. But yeah, I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, you did. 100% you did. Since you also worked with a lot of funds, right? Tell us a bit about the founder stuff, right? You have observed a lot of founders, whether it's, currently the fund which you are working at, or which the fund previously you worked at. So there
Yeah.
had been a lot of analysis of founders and, helping, providing them with capital and all of that going on, right? So tell us like 3 to 4 key factors that you look out for. Thesis can be different for everyone that are there, but what you look out for, 3 to 4 factors, what mistakes founders make, and how they can overcome that mistakes.
Okay, so there are 3 parts to this question. Characteristics I look for founders, mistakes that they have made,
How they can
and
overcome that mistake.
how can they overcome. So the mistakes have to be with founders that I would have previously funded founders, or any founder I
Any
can
founder, any founder.
Got it. Answering the first part of your question, I think the real I would say, at least what I look out for founders is how well they understand the problem statement that they're trying to solve. That's the first thing. How marinated they are in the problem statement, and are they approaching this from a point of view that this is a genuine problem statement and I want to solve it and I'm the best person to solve it mindset, or I just want to get rich. So, I'm doing this. I found this wide gap and I'm doing this. Money is always a byproduct of whatever you're doing in life. Even with careers, whatever you're doing in life, money is a byproduct of it. But again, how well you understand the problem statement and how focused you are in terms of solving that is something that I personally definitely look out for. Added to that is, do you have the right experience to solve that problem statement, right? And that actually depends from sector to sector. For some sectors, it becomes very, very critical, like SaaS. You have to actually understand the niche that you're trying to build for, or understand what the key problem is, versus education, where education, if today you have to build an edtech thesis, you will also be able to build because you know what the problems of education in India are, etc. And therefore probably faster execution and faster product building would be a key skill set there. But I think founder market fit, what we call in the VC parlance, becomes key. That how well suited are you to solve this problem statement versus anyone else I can pick in the universe. Third, something that I really look out for is frugality. And it's not easy to observe, but I deeply respect founders that are frugal. And by that, it means that you can do a lot more with a lot less. And you'll see that in very small nuances of conversations with them, that how they're thinking about costs, how they're thinking about saving money. They haven't raised any money right now, but how are they optimizing for doing more with whatever they have right now? It's a very key skill set that I definitely look out for. And I've heard a lot from other investors as well that, this is a key skill set that they look out for as well. And fourth, the ability to inspire other people and build a team and lead a team, right? You can be a great manager. You can have like a 4-point, bullet list of has this person done X, Y, etc. But can you actually influence and inspire people to join you in your mission statement, even on the day when you have not raised any money, right? Like everyone will join you for salary or, getting a job. But do people actually align with your mission statement? Do they follow you? Can you inspire them to bring out the best version of themselves? Can you give them that upper hand of believing in those people and channelizing their 2x versions as well? I think that becomes very, very key at an early stage startup as well, irrespective of sector, space, etc. Then can you build a team? Can you grow that organization? Can you retain people without giving them, a golden parachute of great ESOP and money, etc.? Of course, that will follow. I think I heard this really interesting quote last week, which is create value and valuation will follow.
Yeah.
So I'll just add to that. But those are my 4 parameters of when I look for great founders. Second, a part of the question was, what are the common mistakes that
Mistakes,
founders
yeah.
do?
3
Yeah.
mistakes commonly that founders do.
3 mistakes commonly that founders do. I think the first one would be, not researching the industry that you're trying to solve for, or the space that you're trying to solve for really well. And that's of course a key of what you're trying to do. So it has to be differentiated. It has to be well researched. You have to talk to as many customers to actually understand if there is a need to actually build a product for this problem. Is this that big a problem, right? Like, people do talk about target addressable market a lot, and that's key, right? What you're trying to do, is that differentiated, and is that a real problem for which customers would pay? It's not like, you call a customer today and you're like, would you like to pay for this? They'll
Yeah.
yes, they say yes. But when the actual checkout page comes, they'll not say yes. So
Yeah.
an actual problem statement, researching that industry space well to identify adjacencies and areas where, a potential big competitor could come, etc. You should have the entire knowledge of that space, for sure. And I think I lost the train of my mind. Just I'll take a pause here.
Meanwhile, you get that. So we can talk about how founders can overcome this aspect, right? Knowing that the problem is lacking and the customer aspect, understanding more problems. So how the founders can understand deeply in that aspect that this problem actually exists.
Yeah, I think I followed back on what I was speaking, which is your problem statement big enough, and not researching the space enough, so that you go into a pitch not well prepared? And third, will customers actually pay for it? I think how founders can overcome it, I think like just do the job of researching an industry space well. You're committing your time and energy into it. Don't be in the hurry of starting up. I think I say this to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They're like, हमको startup करना है. क्यों? What is the reason of starting up? Do you want to get glorified articles of, you raising money, etc.?
Or get awards.
or get awards, etc. I mean, like, think about it in a very logical, rational way. I think another thing that, I didn't cover earlier because I'd lost my train of thought, was whether your business model or what you're trying to do is venture fundable or not venture fundable is also very important. I have seen many successful businesses which are not venture backable. And I've seen founders run it beautifully, great execution, great margins, great profits. And that's a very important distinction to have. Like, if you want to do something, go ahead and do it. You don't have to raise capital to do that, for example, in the first place. And so your insight of starting up should be very clear. Capital today is not a constraint, but have that distinction of whether this is venture backable or not. Right? Like, because if it's not venture backable, then there's nothing that's stopping you from scaling it. Of course, you have to generate profits, take loan, or borrow that money, etc. You can figure out financing. There is enough financing, alternative financing available as well.
Yeah.
Second, I think do research really well, prepare really well before any pitch. I mean, like, not just to an investor, even to a customer, right? Like, for a lot of these enterprise SaaS grade products, etc., the customer on the other side are very, very experts, themselves in the space. So if you're not able to answer the basic questions around your product and what you're trying to do, you'll be, shunned out from the meeting then and there, and you'll not get a second chance. There are no second chances there when you're talking to customers. So be very well prepared. And third, I would say, I think talk to many customers. There's not a magic number around it. I wouldn't say like talk to 5 customers and if 5 of them say yes and you're like, okay, I'm starting up. No, at least talk to 50, 100 customers. And analyze that data, and don't skew that data to what you want to do, right? Like, if the data is telling you, listen to the data that okay, maybe this is not the biggest problem. Let me keep looking for the biggest problem, and I'll try to solve for that. I'll end the question there.
100%, that's true, because most of the founders are like, they will manipulate the data according to their will and they will direct that and present that in that manner. That's 100.
No, I mean, there is a reason that VCs get a lot of backlash from founders that, oh, these people take a lot of time to respond, their DD process is really large. But that is a very well laid out DD process, right? Like, if your friend today asks you for 5,000 rupees, you will also ask him, what do you need the money for? What are you going to do with the money? When are you going to return the money back? So, for us also, when you present or a founder presents a data that I have spoken to X amount of customers and this is what they're saying, the first thing a VC analyst or associate might ask you is, can I get, contact details of some of these customers? I would actually like to talk to them. So it's part of our process. And that's why some of the DD takes time, because we actually want to also understand that, is this an actual, customer? A lot of people fake their customers as well. So
100%.
part
And
of
all,
the business.
it is. And also the first point that you mentioned, financing, that is more, I think, because most of the founders are stuck that they just need VC capital because they do not know other options of financing, right? So
I
that
mean,
also
like,
happens.
I think just in terms of getting personal loans, the process has become much more streamlined, straightforward, etc. Some people get into jobs to save money for some time and then start up their own business as well. Some people take it from the family, friends, banks,
Even
alternative
revenue-based
other
financing.
there's revenue-based financing, exactly, that's come up. So there are a lot of these alternate channels. So I don't think capital is the biggest constraint. Of course, I mean, if you want to get into industries or spaces which are very capex heavy, right? Like, manufacturing or other things that involve production, etc., that would require certain capex. But again, you have to, there's way to get to that. It's not like you're not able to get to it.
Awareness is the thing that you should be having about.
Awareness, and also ability to act to it, right? It's just not a function of VC is the only stakeholder where I'll raise capital from. I feel through this podcast I also want to reiterate this fact, is that the VC money is not free money. Right? There is a reason that equity capital sits on the liability side of the balance sheet. You have to return it back, right? Similarly, if you take loan from a bank, you have to return it back. If you take money from your friends, you have to return it back with 2-folds, 3-folds, whatever returns you're able to generate, because they're investing in you. They're investing in your idea as well. So I think there is that, thought that, oh, this is free money, this is someone else's money, I can still burn it. No, you can't. You have to, any money that you get from outside is not free money. I mean, I have this discussion with my parents. If I've taken any money from my parents, I count that as debt only. It's like I would have to return it back to my parents by this date. It's not your money, you have to return it back.
Even from your customers, you provide them value to that, right? So that's kind of a
See, you're fundamentally, Himanshu, it's a relationship between you and your customers.
Yeah.
Okay, your customers are the people you have to please, appease, and create the best solution for.
Yeah.
That will drive value into your company. That will where the revenues will come from, and then you can, obviously capital is a play to grow.
Yeah.
You want to grow faster, you want to grow in a sustainable manner, so accordingly that will be dictated by capital. But so much of today a founder's mind space has become, how can I raise more, how can I raise more? It shouldn't be that. It should be, how can I create more value for my customers?
Yeah.
How can I derive more value from my customers? How can I ensure that today I'm getting whatever, if my AOV is 100, can I take my average order value to 200 or
Yeah.
300 or 400? It's literally that
That's
we are a very small party in this entire
yeah.
business. Yeah.
That's a very I would say unique perspective, because most of the founders thinks VCs or financer as a main party instead of taking customers as a large party. That's
I
it.
think, see, depending on the industry and founder, of course, there are certain industries where if you want to grow fast, you definitely need external financing, and hence, the whole concept of
Yeah.
a venture capital and alternate financing, came into place. But at the same time, I feel that again, it's still determined by the founder's vision and aspiration, right? Like a founder has a vision that I want to get into X amount of cities by year 5. So capital should not be a constraint for me, and therefore a VC partner is standing next to you, or a banker is standing next to you, or a private equity partner is standing next to you. So it is largely dictated by the founder's vision. We are just there to help them along the way. Yeah.
That's
It's
true.
it's literally like, this is Arjun's story as per Mahabharat, and all the other players are like, Krishna is just a stakeholder who's helping, guiding him, etc. It's literally what Arjun dictates determines his destiny, right? Does Arjun want to play small or does he want to play big?
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Decision making is always with Arjun. Everyone can
With the
give out the
founder.
suggestion.
Yeah.
That's yeah. It was. I will say it was fun chatting. We had a great talk. We learned a lot about, even the audience did, whether it's from your early days or whether you right now working with fund and helping founders. I do hope founders take that things, and implement those stuff in their journey and make something really, really large enough. So yeah, it was fun. Thanks for being on the podcast.
No, thank you so much, Amansh, for taking our time. And if you have any closing questions, you can ask. Otherwise, I think this has been a really fun chat. I thought it would have gone very technical on the VC side, but I am glad that I was able to also revisit my old days with your help, and also, remember some of the key lessons that I might have forgotten. So thank you so much for your time as well.
Yeah, it was just takeaways for audience to get an insights from that too. So yeah,
Awesome.
super.
Awesome.
Thanks for being till the end of this conversation. Really appreciate watching the whole podcast and getting the insights from. If you haven't subscribed it yet, please do that and do share it with others. Thanks. See you in the next one.